Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. Well, I'm late this time because I was yapping on the chat and I wasn't paying attention. So that's a new excuse for me. Alright, so as usual, we'll do the world news first and then I'll do the Mandelas. So somebody brought this to my attention last week. This was from One Life Show Up Breathe, is commenter on the channel. I just thought it was interesting because I didn't know about this one. So apparently they have a special flu vaccine for people over 65 that is like extra strong. It has 4 times the antigen, and some of it has extra strong adjuvant. An adjuvant is like basically the chemical crap they put in there to trigger your immune system. And then the antigen is the protein from the flu in it. And it is known to cause more side effects. The high-dose adjuvated flu vaccines may result in more of the temporary mild side effects that can occur with standard dose seasonal shots. Side effects can include pain, redness, or swelling in the injection site, headache, muscle ache, malaise. Typically resolve within 1 to 3 days. Yeah, my older coworker who's over 65 got the flu shot last year, and her arm hurt for 6 months, and she was pretty upset about it. And I don't know when this kicked in, but it's something to consider. They're really pushing the flu shot, and I guess they're saying your immune system is weaker when you're over 65, but that's why they're doing this. I don't know. For some reason, it just made me a little worried, especially considering we looked at before that people who get the flu shot are more susceptible to coronaviruses, as we've seen that research. So, anyways, something to consider. All right, next thing. I'm gonna try to burn through some of this here. So this one's kind of interesting because basically, you know, the whole lockdown thing kind of started because of China. They had the virus, they locked down. Everybody's like, ooh, we got to do what they did. They locked down, but they never got rid of all their COVID. They locked down, was it 6 weeks or something? Hard, in one area only, though. And then they opened back up, and everybody's like, oh, well, it's just going to resurge because they didn't get rid of all of it, right? And if it's so deadly, then just one case should cause it to spread again. But strangely, we haven't heard diddly piddly about China or any lockdown since then. Looks like they locked down one area and then haven't done squat since then, basically. And so I thought this one was interesting. So apparently they're just back to partying, and there's no masks at this giant pool party in Wuhan, like the epicenter of the viral attack.
Change your shampoo right now if you don't want to.
Let's turn off the sound, shall we? Add giant party. I'm not gonna like play it, but basically, I don't want to play it. Nobody's wearing any masks. This was recently. There's like, it's funny because there's this, right? Nobody has any masks on. And then this person talking about it suddenly has a mask. In this clip here. So if everybody's wearing masks, then why is like nobody wearing masks in this giant party, which was on YouTube? Anyways, I thought it was kind of weird, actually. If they didn't need to lock down ever again, and they never got rid of all of their then how come they haven't had a second wave and all these problems? And I mean, they haven't had mass immunizations, and they haven't done anything since the first time. So There's another, like, we don't have enough conspiracy theories. There's actually another conspiracy theory, and there's pretty good evidence for it, like there is for the other 500 conspiracy theories, that that it's like all a secret plot by China, and there's a whole bunch of evidence that they really marketed the lockdowns to places like Italy. That, oh, you got to lock down, blah blah blah, as they were doing it, and really push this. Of course, you could always argue that, you know, they thought it was important and they were being honest, but interestingly, you know, they're perfectly fine, and all the rest of the world continues to lock down over and over and over again. But the original epicenter of the problem is totally fine, and they only locked down one part of their country, and now they're having giant parties. And anyways, just another interesting little tidbit. This is one I should have been researching, but instead I was yapping on the chat. Oh, memes, memos. Can't even read my own writing. Okay, so the deal here is, I know we've been, like, everybody was kind of saying, like, the White House can't do anything because it's all the governor's business what happens in the lockdowns. But not only did Trump start the lockdown, if you will recall, behind the scenes, apparently the White House has been encouraging governors to implement mask mandates. So that's kind of the opposite of the public face that is being represented, that they're not behind this. The White House Coronavirus Task Force recommended statewide mask mandates in Iowa, Missouri, blah, blah, blah. So some of these have been made public. Of course, this comes out now, and probably there'll be more. This timeline loves this kind of thing. First, there's this one impression, and then, oh, wait, this was always secret. Then this comes out. Oh, no, wait, this is... And it keeps flipping back and forth. So, but I think this really undermines the storyline that the White House is can't help out because the governors are all... It's their choice. It turns out that they've been pushing for the mask mandates this whole time. Let's see. So there's like this schism, basically. On the face of it, they're acting like they don't want it, but then behind the scenes, they're pushing it, which follows my basic theory that they're both sides are really pushing it in their own ways, and it's like good cop, bad cop. So this one thing I wanted to do was just go read all these, but you can find this info in a lot of places. I actually ran into this on other places on YouTube. Let's see. 6 days later, the White House coronavirus reports recommended Montana officials issue fines for those who ignore mask mandates in places the disease is spreading fast. So they're suggesting you issue fines, which is quite different than the public face of it that Trump has put forth in his own speeches. Even the federal government says we need to take wearing masks seriously. It's not just governors saying that we should do this, and it's not just health experts saying we should be wearing masks. Mike Parson is among the Republican governors who have resisted a statewide masking order despite the White House's recommendation. Of course, now they talk about how somebody said, I'm not, you wear one only if you want to. And of course, they test positive last Wednesday. Okay, so this person's complaining that if they're truly serious about backing the masks, then say it publicly, don't issue it in secret memos. So supposedly these memos were uncovered by Freedom of Information Act. Anyway, I think this undermines the whole Trump is against it routine again. I mean, not only has he pushed the vax really hard, and not only did he start the lockdown himself, but then distance himself, but behind the scenes, the White House has been pushing this all along. So the whole storyline that he's actually doing anything different than the Democrats, I think is very questionable at this point. So I just want to make that point because I don't trust either side, so you can't. Every time I say something bad about Trump, somebody says I'm some kind of liberal. And look, I don't trust either side. So before you get all crazy on that, I don't know why, but it seems like each side cannot believe that people wouldn't like their side unless they're the other side. I'm not on either side. I don't like either one of them. So if anything, I'm a little bit more of a libertarian than anything else. But even then. Anyway, I just want to make that point. I'm just getting tired of people saying that somehow Trump is really trying to save you when the evidence just doesn't point there. Sorry, guys. The day they announced mask wearing is not mandatory, I'm going to burn the only mask that I bought. Yeah, I know, really. I think the only way I would like a mask is if I was famous, because then I could wear that thing and walk around without anybody bugging me. But since I'm not, they're totally irritating. All right, I'm almost done with my complaints about world news. I actually burned through them really quick. Then I'm going to have a semi globe flat earth rant, and then I'll be on to the Mandelas. I need to start covering the crime Mandelas and the video game Mandelas. You know, songs that are catchy, I can't help you with those. So, you know, cover the ones that you're good at, because I don't know diddly widdlies about video games. There was a couple old school ones, like if there was ones from like Pong and Space Invaders and like those ones from way back, I could probably maybe chime in on those, but I really just haven't done that stuff. So. And I'm not any good at music ones, generally speaking, unless it's really old stuff that I listen to during a certain frame of time when I actually used to listen a lot, which was not a huge, long frame of time. Yeah, Trump's become like a religion. You know, dudes, he's a dude, we don't know him. He reads pre-prepared speeches that he didn't write. You know, I just laugh whenever they say, so-and-so senator stole a speech from such and such other. That senator probably never even wrote a word of that speech. That basically it means somebody they hired stole a speech, and the person speaking it did not know where it came from. And so just they don't write their speeches. Trump doesn't write his stuff. I mean, he probably chimes in on some of it, and he is known for going off like on his own. But basically, those speeches are written by somebody else. They work out the message, and he speaks it. So he speaks his message. He's told what to speak, and we don't know him. And any politician that is worth his salt is going to have a public persona. We do not know him unless you grew up with him. He was your neighbor, he was your relative. You don't know this guy. You don't know any of them. They tell you what you want to hear. Just keep that in mind. I don't understand why anybody trusts any of these politicians that much. Any of them could easily turn out to be totally fake. I mean, we don't know them. They're actors on TV. I don't understand why people trust any of them that much. You just look at what they do, and you make your best guess on which one's less bad. And so this whole thing where even though he's doing all these bad looking things, it's 5D chess, it makes no sense whatsoever. He's an actor on TV. You know, he's a TV persona. He makes his living creating a persona and selling it, and he's good at that. That's all we really know about this guy. You know, I don't know why he's become a religion with some people. I don't know why any of them become a religion. Since when is Trump not orange? Oh, you know, I did I even talk about that? I thought it was really interesting when he was in the hospital. They showed him really pasty-faced, and I was like, oh my God, he's so sick. I'm like, nope, that's him without his makeup on. I mean, we've seen his makeup line. That was a big meme, like, I don't know, some months ago, where somebody took a photo and you could see where his makeup line ended and he suddenly got really light. That's what old people's skin looks like. It's just you're used to seeing him with artificial tans of orange and orangey tan makeup. And why do you think they suddenly showed him without his makeup on in the hospital there? So of course suddenly to us he looks sickly because we're not used to seeing him 5 shades lighter all of a sudden. It's like they wanted him to look sick. I mean, were they really too lazy to just slather some makeup on? If they had enough energy in him to fake him signing a blank piece of paper to make it look like he was working in the hospital, I think he would have had enough energy in him to like slather on some makeup. So I'm very suspicious about that whole scenario. So now a lot of people can say, oh, he was more sick than he was let on. Look at his face, you know, like that. It's just him. That's what old people look like. They're light colored. You know, we're just not used to seeing him that color. So yeah, I do think they might be pushing him to kind of tone back his makeup to be less orange. I notice his hair has slowly gotten less orange too. Yeah, I'm not on either side, but you're voting for Trump. I don't know. I can't stand either one of them. I'll probably just vote libertarian again. I mean, it's not like I'd really want to see the whole libertarian platform enacted because I think that's gone too far, but I don't see really any choice. I see Trump kicking the COVID ball down the court in the same direction as the liberals and the Democrats. And so I'm going to vote libertarian, and maybe we'll have a third party one of these days because I don't what else you going to do? Besides, this is California. California always goes Dem. So no matter if I vote for anything, I'm throwing my vote away. If I vote for Trump, it's useless because they're going to go Dem. If I go for Dem, they're going to go Dem. But if I vote for libertarian and libertarian can get 10% of the votes someday, then they could actually get on TV and stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous long shot, but hey, who knows? Nobody wanted to do his makeup because he had COVID. I'm sure he does his own makeup. Otherwise, they would get it into the into the corners better. I'm sure he could do it. I'm sure he's been doing it this whole time. It's not hard to take the stuff and go believe me, as a female, I'm sure that he is capable of slathering that crap on. I heard someone say anyone who got the flu shot would most likely test positive for COVID. See, we don't have any data, so this is what we know. We know that the companies that make the C tests say that their tests may cross-react with other coronaviruses. Okay, so if that's the case, and they say it may be, and we don't know how much, but if they put it in there, there's probably a pretty good chance that it could happen, then we would know that anybody who had coronaviruses of other types, which are very common cause of cold and flu, one of the top virus types that are the cause of the cold and flu are other coronaviruses that are not the C, then you could test positive for the C. So there's that. Okay, now you have the question about the flu shots. The flu shots do contain proteins of other coronaviruses. Considering the amount of cycles and amplification of the proteins, it is possible that previous flu vaccines would possibly cause you to test positive for the C, but I don't think that the data is there to know for sure on that. I do think that just basically you ever having any other coronaviruses, there's plenty of data that that might be the case, that you would cross-react with other coronaviruses as positive. So that alone could be enough. There is also data that if you've had flu shots, extensive numbers of flu shots, you are more likely to get other coronaviruses. I think it was this swine flu. They found that people who had extensive history of flu shots were 30-something% more likely to get the swine flu than if you didn't. And the theory was that basically the immune system has a limited number of resources. And so if you train it really heavily in one direction against the flu, what you get is an immune system that is going to fight the flu better, but is going to be weaker at novel viruses like the C, because basically you put your eggs more in one basket and you're not that flexible. So people who don't get a bunch of shots kind of have a neutral immune system that can go in any direction. So it might be weaker on the flu, but if something else comes along, it's stronger. So something to consider. Maybe you want to go ahead and get the flu, but then be stronger against the C if the C is truly more dangerous than the flu, which, you know, is up for debate as well. Joe Biden is more bizarre. I think we have two bizarros running right now. It freaks me out. They both seem to have brain problems, honestly. There's something wrong with Joe Biden, but there's also something wrong with Trump. If you ever look at Trump's old speeches from like 20 years ago, he's very much more fluent. He sounds more normal. He doesn't have that word salad thing going on. 20 years of giving speeches, I think he should have gotten at least decent amount more fluent. He sounds like a whole different person 20 years ago. So I don't know what's up with him, but something. Then Biden's got some kind of slur thing. There's something wrong with, his, like one part of his body is a little something or something. I actually think he might have had a minor stroke. I know the Republicans are really pushing Parkinson's, but, of course that would be the worst case scenario. So of course they're pushing that because they want to scare everybody. I think a minor stroke is the more likely explanation, but, who knows what happens. A minor stroke is not progressive. Hard to say, though. I really think there's something wrong with both of them, and I think it's just really strange that we've got two candidates with brain problems running against each other. It's just, when in the history of ever has that happened? Another reason why I can't see myself voting for either one of them. COVID was listed as ingredient in flu vaccines. Was it the C or was it coronas? Because coronas, yes, they were. I have not seen anything where the C itself, specifically the 19 version, was listed as an ingredient. So if you have info, specific info that the 19 was listed as an ingredient, please write that in the comments, like link it or something, because I can't even watch TV anymore. Yeah, it's been quite a number of years since I really could pay attention to TV for long. Sometimes I have it on, but I'll do other stuff. It seems like it's just gotten, I don't know, it's just gotten, it just seems really simplistic now or something. Americans don't have to vote. We Australians, it's mandatory. Yeah, I heard that. I just heard that recently, too, for the first time, like last week. Every time something new like this happens and I hear it like 3 times in 1 week, I always wonder if it was my old timeline or not. But, I try to vote, but I'll just vote third party. It's fine. I mean, there's other stuff to vote for besides the president. There's, local bills and propositions and stuff. And actually voting for the prez is the easy decision. And those propositions, some of them I gotta read and I have to research, and it's kind of a chore. The Nazi propaganda machine. Yeah, I don't know. Everything is just so different here. That's all I can say. When I was sick in 2012, pretty much took everything that could send me into a multi-dimensional mess. I'm not sure on that one. Did anyone see that? $2 from Life Matrix, thank you. Did anyone see that fly on Pence? Yeah, I saw it on the news. I know the Republicans were saying, some of them were saying they don't remember seeing it on the original, live stream of it. I'm kind of curious about that. I mean, it certainly would be easy to video edit in a fly. And I do think it'd be really strange if you had a fly on your head for all that time and not bug you. But nothing really happens in this timeline without some drama, so I'm not really surprised. I expect some drama during the election. I think there'll be something like, there'll be accusations of cheating on both sides. Ooh, $20. Wow, that's way better than $2. Thank you. Appreciate it. I was actually wondering if maybe Biden would get the C and then they would blame it on Trump, and then Biden would have been way ahead but then lose because he's too sick, and then the Dems would be all furious because they'd blame it on Trump, and then Trump would say, oh, well, I'm just stronger. I just expect some kind of drama. I don't know what it'll be, but I think we're going to see some stuff because there's got to be division now. Everything has to be division and drama. So expect some. Just, get out the popcorn because it's coming. Just expect the drama, then you won't be all upset when it comes. Ben, my understanding is most Australians get a fine if they don't vote, but a few somehow seem to avoid the fines. And that's kind of weird. I mean, did all you Australians that are on here always know that you had to vote or you'd get a fine? Is that all in all of your timelines this whole time? Yeah, it's like the whole world is like this ridiculous soap opera now. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like as the world turns, except for flat Earth is mad about that too, I'm sure. The only reason they allow non-voting is if you're an ex-convict. So is there any Australians on here that didn't know about that or anything? I'm just curious. I just suddenly it's this thing. I've been hearing it everywhere, and I've never heard of it before. Australia has changed a lot for me. You know, the shape, the location. In my timeline, the Brits did not control it the whole time. They just dumped prisoners on there, and Australia developed itself. It was a big deal. I always was amazed that Australia became such a kind of civilized country, developed wholly out of a prison dumping ground. And they did not have the UK emblem on their flag. It was a kangaroo that was on their flag. They had a big old roo flag the whole time. So Australia is super different for me. So that's why I wouldn't be really surprised if there's yet another strange Mandela in the voting thing. I voted twice in my whole life and I regret it. See, that's the other advantage of voting third party is you know they're not going to win. So you don't have to feel bad if some because your guy's not going to get in and screw everything up. So you can say, "Well, I didn't vote for that idiot. I voted but not for that idiot." No matter who gets in, you did not vote for that idiot. Then you're totally safe. And then anytime somebody says you're a liberal or a redneck or a whatever, you can say, "Oh no, I voted for this other guy." Ex-convict is a load of rubbish. Always been fined if they not vote, but very few seem to avoid the fines for no reason. See, that's the thing. Why would you avoid? How would that happen unless there's timelines? I don't know. Australians are all Australians. No, they're not. Last I checked, like less than half, I think. How many? How many Australians? That's how it was. All Australians, except for maybe some that immigrated later, but all Australians were descended from convicts in my old timeline. But in this timeline, unless you're like Aboriginal or maybe you went over there, you know, later on after it was all civilized and just moved there from convicts. I should probably say what percentage. Today, about 20% of Australians are descended from convicts, including plenty of prominent citizens. Dang, last time I checked, it was like 40%. When was that? Maybe a year ago? Okay, so the percentage of convict descendants has dropped quite a bit since last I checked. How many Australians have convict heritage? 1 in 5. Yeah, that's really dropped. Was Australia made of criminals? Australia really was colonized by a bunch of criminals. Here are 5 of them. Yeah, blah, blah. Okay, well, yeah, in my old timeline, it was all criminals. Basically, Britain, but also other countries would just kind of dump criminals there was the story. I always thought it was a little weird of a story. I mean, why not? I mean, I don't want to be mean, but that's a lot of effort just to get rid of criminals. Wouldn't you just like kill them? I mean, humans, are they that nice? But so supposedly they shipped all these criminals and then just flung them on the shore. I mean, isn't that kind of tantamount to, I mean, how many people thrown on the shore of some weird new land would survive? So I always thought it was weird that you'd pretty much sentence them to death anyway, but then make all that effort to do it. And then somehow they all developed into this, you know, very democratic, you know, up until recently, nice country, first world country. I was always like, that's really interesting. It's something I thought about a lot, which is why it's such a strong Mandela for me. And I checked it over the years. But it was like basically almost all Australians were from convicts. And not anymore. So I see somebody else is confused too. I think I've covered that one before though. So yep, not anymore. So now there's like this whole thing. Last time I checked, they were like, that's just an old wise tale, and it's insulting to Australians. We're not all convicts and stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever. You were all convicts before. Mandela with Amy Coney Barrett. I don't know that person. It was Amy Comey Barrett. Now it's Amy Coney. Sounds like the kind of Mandela that we are used to. I don't know that person though, so I can't comment on that. I have a vague memory. Some avoid fines because they're not registered on the national census. I think it was voting thing. No, they made the criminals work. Yeah, no, see, in my timeline, no, they didn't. Britain just did not camp there. They just pitched them and ran in my timeline. Absolutely. I mean, we studied it so many times. I even studied it on my own. In this timeline, Britain, like, camped out there and controlled the situation, and they have their emblem on the flag. They did not have their emblem on the flag. And neither did they have the Brit, whatever you call that X thing, I forgot now. Something, Union Jack. They did not have the Union Jack on the Australian flag, and they did not have the Union Jack on the Hawaiian flag. Britain it's bigger, and it had a lot more influence in this timeline than mine. It had a lot of influence on Hawaii, and did not have influence on Hawaii in my old time. That was America. Actually, was pretty shocked to see that Union Jack on the Hawaiian flag like that. America had a lot of influence on Hawaii, but not Britain in my timeline. No voting in the U.S. if in the slammer or on parole. I know about in the slammer. I didn't know about on parole, though. I thought you could vote if you were on parole, but I can't say I really looked into it, so. Alcatraz of the Pacific. Well, kind of. I mean, I never really heard that story because for me it was just like the dumping grounds. But yeah, Australia now is it's a lot different than I remember. Well, not a lot, but there's a lot of Mandelas in Australia for me. Not many of us eat kangaroo. Probably it's really dry meat, I would bet. No fat. Probably all gamey too. Union Jack, yeah, that's it. Yeah, Union Jack was not on Hawaiian flag, and it was not on Australian flag for me. Normal people and even children used to live on Alcatraz in this timeline. Yeah, no. There was prison guards, the prison workers, and there was the prisoners, and that was it. But there's a bunch of new islands over there too, like Angel Island. I'm actually from the Bay Area. There was no Angel Island. There was just Alcatraz. That was it. Once you're off, you get your voting rights back. Well, yeah, I would imagine. Once you're off parole. Huh, that's interesting. I hear Canada changed. Canada's shape changed a lot, and the location of the cities are are slipped down over by the border. It's getting a lot greener. But I can't say I really knew a ton about Canada before. So, yeah, they got way more lakes. I mean, I knew what it looked like, but I mean, it was sort of like the nicer version of America for the longest time. So I just really don't have a lot that I could say I knew about that I would notice if it changed. Okay, so got that one. All right, so very sadly, I have realized that I have not looked at my Once Upon a Timeline at yahoo.com email for like a millennia. Well, not that long, but I don't know, like, but I've been feeling a lot better since I've been on the DMSO, and so I'm getting more done. And I'm actually not waiting till the last minute to do stuff. And so I started looking at that, and I apologize to all you people who I never responded to. And I started looking at some of them, and I have some of them up here for this week in this one. So now we're on to the like Mandelas. This is actually last week's, and this was sent to me. I'm not going to give the whole name because I don't know if they really want their name like up here, but I'm just going to give the initials. So I'm going to say it's DB because I'm actually not sure if DB is Nobleness D or is it a different person, but this is Nobleness D's lion image. So I didn't realize that I actually saw this independently, and I saw this lion face on, I think it was like Yahoo, but apparently I wasn't the only one who went, blah, what's up with the white lines when they saw this image, because apparently Nobleness D and other people also saw it and went, what the bleep? And so Nobleness made like, and this was probably pretty easy to do, and I applaud you for the effort. He filled in the eyes as he remembers. So this is the lion face now, and this is the lion face as many of us remember it. I do think they're more expressive overall and stuff, but I mean, for me, this looks like how it's, but way more like how it's supposed to be, and not like this. Now, my little kitty, my cat, my domestic house cat, he's gotten a bunch of white over here and then some up on the top. So he's basically he's got his black eyeliner right here on the wet line. Women don't know what that means, but it's right there on the edge. And now he's getting like white eyeliner all the way around and like a triangle under here that he didn't have before. So he's just my little kitty. He is getting so many more face markings. So it is cool. And so not as much white underlining, but not as much as these. But anyways, yes, it's interesting because when I looked at this, I'm immediately like, this is way more right looking than that. That just looks silly to me. So yes, good job, Nobleness D. I totally agree with you. And if I wasn't so lazy and somewhat busy and behind on everything all the time, I might get off my butt and do some of this stuff, because it really is striking when you see the old version. You really see how much more correct it looks with the old version. Okay, I'm going to see what you guys are up to. Yeah, keep an eye on your little house lion, the markings. Watch the markings. If yours has markings. Like my last cat was a black one, so you're not going to see a lot of marking changes, but the current one is stripy, and he's had a lot of changes in the last year on his coloration. And he's like 5 years old now about, so you wouldn't really expect to see a sudden bunch of coloration changes. But even big cats have unique markings not restricted to the species. If you look at the lions as I went through them last week, they all have that now. So Salt Lake City is way different looking on the map. Haven't been back since 2010. Coronado Island was an island for me with a bridge that I would get panic attacks driving. Yeah. Yep. Now it's the peninsula. It still has the bridge, but... I'm betting Salt Lake City. I'm betting the lake's bigger, too, because it seems like every lake has gotten bigger. I was not familiar enough with Salt Lake to know if it's gotten bigger, but I suspect it has, because they all are getting bigger. Lions have my hair color. Yeah, it's actually not like my hair color, but it's a hair color I like, so I put it on there. Got to be truthful on these things. They just legalized felons to vote in my state. Why not? Canada land to lakes. Well, yeah, but not that many. I've been watching them get bigger. Canada's also greening up, too. It used to be, they'd always show it very white. I mean, I have an image that I saved, and so it's the same image, and the image is getting greener, and it's a saved image, so it's not like it's some other map or something. Yeah, there was only one way on and off Coronado Island when I was a kid. Exactly. I'm so glad you remember it, because I actually talked to several supposed, well, they do see some Mandelas, but then I asked them about that, and they're all like, oh, I'm like, you lived here how long, and you can't remember if Coronado was an island? The other thing is that I've been watching that peninsula get longer and longer. It's called, what, the Silver Strand now, longer. And then that actually syncs up very much, Life Matrix, with your observation about the cruise ships, because I didn't know about that until you posted it, but the harbor is getting bigger and bigger. And I do very much specifically remember the harbor, our harbor. They said that our harbor sucked, and that's why we didn't have a lot of shipping to our harbor, because it was too shallow, and it was a crappy harbor compared to Los Angeles. So all the big ships had to go to Los Angeles because they had a way better harbor. And now the story is that we have a good harbor, and all the big ships go to Los Angeles because we're too far south. But so now we have this great harbor, so these big boat anchor cruise ships can come here, and always have, but that was not the case before for me. And anyways, yeah, so it all, it all kind of goes together there. The Silver Strand now being a peninsula, it's all protected, it gets bigger and bigger, it's deeper, it's better. Coronado also is like, it keeps like that part where the military is, that sucker has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you've got all those extra islands. I don't know if you've been watching all those islands off the coast growing, but that's like a trip and a half. Coronado Island. But there's new ones all the time. Maps. I'm just gonna chit chat about Coronado real quick here for us locals. I've covered this before, but I've been watching it. Okay, so quite some time ago, my friend, look at how big that is. Okay, my friend had a wedding on Coronado, and basically Coronado was this back then, and I drove to the end of it, which was here, and you could see the water out there. This whole Air Force Base thing, there was just like a tiny little niblet of it there. You could see the water. So I've been watching this grow and grow and grow, and it was only like 10% of the island. It was 20. Now it's over, it's double in size. This whole thing, no, that's also wrong. So when I first started watching the Silver Strand, Coronado was like over here, and the strand was just this long. I mean, like every time I look at it, it's longer and longer. So we've got a big old honking big area in here now. It's all beautifully protected. This inland area of water here has grown quite a bit as well. All right, so let's talk about islands off of California. Derp, derp, derp. What, I saw a new one the other day. I think I forgot I was gonna. What's all this business? Used to be just Catalina. That was it. This one is almost as big as Catalina. There's no effing way. I think this was the newish one. Let me see. Burp. So when was it, like, was it last year or 2 years ago where Catalina turned to Santa Catalina, and we joked that it was a Santa for Christmas. San Clemente is like as big almost as Catalina. No, I think maybe it was that one. Where's that new one? I believe it's this one, San Nicolas. I don't remember that one last time I checked. What is that? Actually, what's that tiny one right there? Oh, what is that one? Doesn't have a name yet. Oh, Santa Barbara. Okay, yes. I saw that one earlier. Looks like it's got a little side puppy right now, though. Sutil. Keep an eye on Sutil. I bet that thing's going to grow. I have not seen Sutil yet. Look at all those little islands. All right, Sutil. I'm betting you. Cat Canyon. Keep an eye on Sutil. I bet that's the next puppy that we're growing right now. The puppy island. Channel Islands. Channel Islands were like over by Britain. There still are Channel Islands by Britain, but that was the only Channel Islands for me. Also, Anacappo Islands look like they might split. Where were those at? They're here. Ooh, wait, have they split already? They're really close. I looked at them last week. Ooh, looks like they almost are now. It's still Anacapa Island, but if you look at it, it even looks a little more split right here than last week. I think Anacapa is going to be Anacapa Islands soon. Keep an eye on that. Anyway, yeah, islands growing at a prodigious rate off the coast of California. Used to be just one, Catalina. That was it. And I swear that one might have been a really old Mandela because it just showed up like in the, like, I first heard about it in the 90s, and I remember being kind of surprised when I heard about that. Like, there's a whole island and I didn't know about it. Also, there was like nothing on Catalina Island when I heard about it. And I had looked into going there, and there was like nothing there but like dirt and shrubs. And I was like, well, there's no reason to go to Catalina. I mean, it's just like if you want to hike around on the dirt, and we already have dirt inland, so why pay to go to Catalina and hike on the dirt there? But now, if you look at the history, there was all these buildings and stuff going way back, long before I ever looked into going there. So that's another reason why I'm really suspicious of Catalina, because it's much more developed than it was. Anyway, so there's the local rant. Stepped on Catalina for 5 minutes. Yeah, well, you know, there's a bunch of neat old buildings, and there's like, there's a lot of, like old, Native American stuff there now, and there's some old weird history and rumors and mysteries there. There's some neat stuff now starting to kind of develop on Catalina Island that was never there before. Anyway, islands. The current timeline loves islands and more fresh water sources, so always something to look for. Anybody remember Maryland looking different, bigger? I don't know, the whole East Coast is different, but I'm only really sure on New York and some of the Great Lakes area. California is way different. I heard of the harpy eagle. Harpy eagle's been on. I don't know if it was there before, but it didn't. If there was harpy eagle before, it didn't look like totally weird like it does now. Apparently, there's a new island off the coast of California. All of them are new, but Catalina for me. There's anything on. Now, it's interesting because a lot of them, they're like, oh, well, that was, military owned it. It seems like a lot of the new stuff that's showing up off the coast, they're saying military owns it. And that's why you didn't know about it, because the military has it. Well, it's interesting. And like Coronado, all the new territory is all military. Society without police force, good luck with that. I don't know in the future, maybe. Certainly in the old timeline, you wouldn't expect it. But I thought about it, what does the police really do? I mean, like, if my place gets burglarized, they're not going to be here in time to do anything. They get here, they take some info. The chances of the burglar getting caught are like this big. So, what advantage? I don't know. People, I guess you could say that they have some kind of deterrent value, but there's been very few times when the police were ever actually able to actually help me. In fact, like, never would be the answer. I mean, I've gotten a couple tickets, but I mean, like, if there's a real problem, by the time the police come, it's done, for good or bad, it's done. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that I think we should do away with them right now, but I don't know in the future if, in the future timelines, how that'll. I'm not really attached one way or another. I don't really have a strong opinions on that. Catalina is the only island for me. Yep. Emmys have slowed down. I tend to think that, but then when I look back on it, when I first learned of the Mandela, Mandela's hit a lot harder, like, oh my God, the spelling changed, and oh my God, there's colors in the eyes of this cartoon. And now I see those changes all the time, and I'm like, yeah, more colors in the eyes of cartoons. Yeah, more color changes on the. So I don't think they hit me as hard, so it just doesn't feel like there's as many of them. But a lot of them, I just see them, and I'm like, yeah, more new islands. Now there's 3 more new islands to go with the other 3. And I just, it's harder to kick me in the stomach with a Mandela now. So I think that's part of it. You get the impression there's not a lot going on, but there's a lot of Mandelas I don't even feel like covering. Like, oh, more lyric changes. Every song has a lyric change now. It's like, am I going to really even bother talking about, like, the Thriller song I just heard the other day has one little word change in it for me. It's like, there's so many lyric changes. I'm not even going to cover those anymore. If your police aren't going to help you, get yourself a gun. See, the thing is, police can't really help anybody because by the time they get there, it's done. It's pretty rare that the police actually show up in time to do anything. Usually whatever it is over with. The guys escape. So, other than deterrent value, burglars and stuff know they gotta hurry so the police don't catch them. But, like, other than that, I don't know. If there was another deterrent value, you listen to your gut, when you're safe outside. I didn't grow up in the world's best situation, so I'm fairly good at having a survival instinct. So I think that I trust that a lot more than I trust police ever showing up in time to do anything. And, you know, I have seen a lot of crooked police in Los Angeles. They show up. If it sounds dangerous, I swear it's like they deliberately take as long as possible. If you call them, and I haven't had to call for myself in Los Angeles, but I have called for neighbors. And if it's like a domestic violence thing or anything that has to do with violence, they take like 40 minutes to show. I literally have timed them. It's like 40 minutes every time. If you call them over something that is not dangerous, like one time we found a child that was like separated from their parents, a little kid. They were there in like 5 minutes, you know, because there was no danger. You know, now they're right over now. So, you know, locally the police do seem like they try to show up in a timely fashion, but still they're not going to get there in time. I think the police locally, they're somewhat useful for kind of busting drug houses, and so nobody really wants drug houses on their block, but it still takes them like 3 years to get enough evidence to really clean out a place, but it's better than nothing. The just thing is, if they don't catch the guy, you know, so somebody is menacing, somebody threatened you, someone tried to burn down your house, someone did this. I mean, all these things I hear about them in the area. Police can't do anything. They weren't there. They didn't see it. They won't do anything. Somebody's illegally dumping garbage. We've got a photo of them doing it. We've got their license plate. No, they won't do anything about it because it's all hearsay. It's he said, she said. They're not going to do anything. So there's like most of the real problems we have, like known problem people, nothing gets done. Supreme Court ruled years ago that police under no obligation to protect you. I've heard that a lot lately, yes. I don't know if that was always the case, but it is now. I mean, everything is more crooked here in this current timeline. So, yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. I like to assume there's solutions, and eventually we'll find them. Okay, so more Mandelas. So, yes, good job, Nobleness D. This one was by, I'm just going to say the one letter of the last name again because I don't know if these people want their name out. Patrick G. Found this one. It's prehistoric plants found at Kilimanjaro. Okay, so pretty bizarre looking. Supposedly they're like relatives of these, of the dandelions. Even dandelions are looking weird to me. And they're calling it a common groundsel. I've never heard of a groundsel, but so somehow they're supersized. I've never seen these before. They're totally prehistorically weird. I really don't remember there being, you know, I was very heavily into plants for years and I loved weird stuff like this. And I just don't remember there being these kinds of things up in the snowy regions, like the tops of mountains. It was pine trees, you know, not these things. Looks like more like something from Africa. If this was in Africa, I might say okay, but not at the top of Kilimanjaro. So good find, Patrick G. This is from my Yahoo. Okay, this was talked about earlier. Who was talking about this on the chat? Those of you who watched Clockwork Orange, which, you know, granted is a rather violent and unpleasant type of movie, but important in a way. Anyways, if you remember the outfit of the speaking of the violent rampaging criminals, if you remember the outfit, do you remember it being all white with just the black boots? Because a lot of us don't. And if you don't, what colors are wrong? I do think there's a Mandela here, but it's been so long since I've seen it that I'm just not sure. I don't remember it being all white, though. So I agree with you there. I do not remember it being all white. Okay, got that one. Okay. Burn through those ones. Oh, okay. I didn't actually cover that flat earth, round earth thing yet. I'll do that one real quick. Black suspenders. Oh, it's songs that are catchy. You're the one who noticed it, right? Predicted our futuristic dystopia. I don't know if we'll really get that, though. I think maybe some timelines will, but that's not the timeline I'm planning to head for. At least not where I live. Okay, so this one, you know what, let me just cover this one other thing. I was just laughing when I saw this. This was in Yahoo News, I think, what, yesterday or today I saw it. Right. Launches. I think I've said before, I'm not really a flat earther, but I don't really trust like the globe earthers. I'm kind of like a simulation earther type, but who the heck knows? All I know is there's some fishy things that we see in the current timeline that I used to watch rocket launches and they looked realistic. And in this current timeline, they don't. They look lame. And this is a really good example of it, is this one that I saw. Let me see if I can find that. The heck, this is not the one I saw earlier with the black smoke, is it? Let me see if I can find one that'll load a little better than this. Go back, go back, go back. Let me try this. Ooh. It was from it was a month ago? Okay, this one is the one, though. All right, maybe I'm behind the 8 ball on this one, but I just saw this earlier, and I'm like, no. All right. So, the story on these rockets, that there should be something ejecting out of the bottom that pushes up the rocket. Now, I guess it could be that you would have something underneath pushing up the rocket and then it takes over. But even so, whatever is pushing up the rocket should be underneath the rocket. I first of all have not heard of any systems where the stuff pushing up the rocket was not in the rocket. It almost looks like that's what they're trying to pull here. But I tried to research this, and there's no info on what's supposed to be propelling this rocket up. But I could tell you one thing, that at first there's no fire coming out of the bottom of the rocket. So they would have to have something underneath, like shoving it, which sounds really inefficient to me. But even say they had something like that, whatever's pushing up the rocket should be under it. And then it shouldn't the rocket like blast off faster once stuff comes out the bottom of the rocket? Because now you have that, force pushing it. Neither of the things happen in this China launch. And I was just looking at this, and like UAP and some of the flat earther channels are saying it looks more like there's like almost like a string pulling it up, like some kind of maybe a balloon is pulling these up, and that the fire is just for like show. And it actually really does, if you look at it that way, it looks more likely, because the rocket just kind of goes up at the same pace no matter what pyrotechnics are going on. And if it was really being launched by the force of the fire coming out the back, then that should surge it forward, and it just doesn't happen. So I'm going to just play a bit of this. Okay, so right there, you got the rocket way over here, and you've got this black smoke coming up way over here, not near the rocket. What is pushing this rocket up? I mean, are they pushing it from below? If so, why is the rocket way over here? If the force is here, shouldn't the rocket then be like tipping sideways? I mean, you've got a stick, and if you push from the side, that's going to cause it to go sideways. I mean, it would be very, very hard to push a stick straight up. You'd have to have it right underneath, and this smoke is not right underneath at all. Okay, and right here, there's no fire or anything coming out of it. What's pushing this thing up? Why didn't it go? But it does it. It goes up at a constant rate. And I don't want to play too much of it because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But if you play this, you'll just see that it just, no matter what's going on with this smoke or the fire that's about to come out of it. So now the fire comes out of it. It doesn't go up any faster after the fire comes out. And if you play this over and over and really look at the clouds and stuff, it doesn't look like it surges forward at all when the fire comes out. It just looks totally fake, you know. The other thing that made me totally laugh is this is supposedly mission control. This is Chinese mission control. China is a big country with a lot of money, okay? I mean, it may not be as rich as the United States, but it probably should have a mission control that looks better than 6 guys in the back of a gymnasium with laptops, okay? I mean, like, this is their mission control? I mean, come on, people. I mean, is this like, just stupid looking? I'm sorry, but what the hell? So anyways, and then you get a bunch of, like, images of, like, really cheesy cartoon images of, like, early video games are better quality than this crap. Okay, so this is supposed to be the Chinese launches from the whatever sea, which is a Mandela in itself, that sea. Anyway, I don't see how you're getting up anything from 6 guys in the back of a gym and a propulsive force that is not underneath the stick. That is, look at where the smoke is, look at where the rocket is. You're not going to be launching if the wind blasts it's wrong. Anyway, all right, enough ranting about that, but it's totally cheesy looking. I don't know what's going on with these. I mean, when I first saw the backwards landing of Tesla's rocket, I thought that was a joke. Literally, I thought someone was playing a regular launch in reverse. And if you look at his landings, for some reason there's always an excuse why they can't actually videotape the actual landing, which is ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Anyway, there's something going on with the rocket programs in this timeline. Everything looks completely different even in the past in this timeline than my old past. Nothing looks realistic anymore on these launches. This is just another example of it. The ISS stuff looks cheesy and fake. Okay, so, all right, I'm done writing about China's launch. I'm going to talk about Lewy body dementia. Okay, so Lewy body dementia. I think this is a big fat Mandela. I first heard of this when Robin Williams got it in 2014. Never heard of it before that. At that time, they said it was rare. Lewy body dementia was rare. I am quite positive they said it was rare. So I'm like, oh, well, that's why I never heard of it. It's rare. Okay, so it's not rare anymore. If you look up Lewy body dementia, that supposedly was the cause of death of Robin Williams. And I was very curious about this when Robin Williams came down with it, and I did research it at that time. So they're now saying, get my notes out on this thing. Okay, so they're saying it's, depending on where you look, they're saying it's either the second or third most common dementia, progressive dementia. After Alzheimer's is number 1. A lot of places are saying Lewy body dementia is number 2 and Parkinson's is number 3. Other places are saying Parkinson's is number 2 and Lewy body is number 3. Other places are kind of indicating that Lewy body and Parkinson's are very similar. It's all very fishy, but they're saying, I mean, there's all these websites that are saying, oh, well, you know, it's so common, but for some reason, you know, most practitioners don't even know about it, and it's, you know, the blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, they don't know about it because it didn't exist as a common disease before, you know, a few years, the last few years. So it's supposedly common now. This timeline likes to have diseases where the symptoms are all over the place and confusing. I've noticed that a lot of the new stuff has huge variation in the symptoms. Okay, so supposedly it's caused by protein buildup in the nerves cells. So it's like a nerve disease. So symptoms are like weird behavior, weird cognition. Let's see, what was the specifics? I had it dug up, but now I can't find it. Weird sleep problems, REM sleep problems, acting, a lot of the early symptoms are acting out your dreams like you're not, you're supposed to be like non-moving when you sleep or not moving too much, but that breaks down and you start moving, your dreams out, all these weird, brain fog, zoning out, delirium. I'm like, oh, well, basically shift sickness. Another symptom is loss of taste. It seems like this timeline loves to have loss of taste as a symptom of stuff. I've only heard of that in the last year or two as being a symptom of anything. Now it's a symptom of like half the planet. Confusion, agitation, incoherent speech. You can have just one of these or all of them. Disorganized speech, behavioral control, memory, flexibility problems, problems with planning and organizing. Hey, everybody has that anymore. Paired job performance, inability to follow conversations, lack of paying attention. That's like everybody anymore. Difficulties with multitasking. Mistakes in driving, misjudging distances, disorders of wakefulness and sleep, daytime sleepiness. There's a lot of diseases now that have daytime sleepiness. I have never heard of any daytime sleepiness diseases until recently, and narcolepsy was the first one. Then there's been like a whole slew of them after that. Sleep pattern, REM sleep pattern disorder. Again, another sleep pattern one. This timeline loves those. Napping more than 2 hours a day, insomnia, periodic restless leg syndrome, and sleep apnea. Okay, that's like half the planet again. Apparently half the planet might have Lewy body dementia, early symptoms, according to this. There's like 1 million symptoms of this thing. Additional neurodegenerative diagnosis may emerge up to 50 years after some of these symptoms. That pretty much makes everybody think they're going to get it. Visual hallucinations, other kinds of hallucinations. Let's see. False beliefs and delusions. That's like everybody in the Mandela Effect community probably is. So like 90% of the planet now apparently might get Lewy body dementia according to these symptoms. Apathy, anxiety, depression. Oh, another weird one I haven't heard is they hypersensitivity to antipsychotics. If you give them that, they could like die. They go into these weird fits and neuroleptic malignant syndrome. So if you give them these, you try to treat the symptoms and you have a really bad reaction. I've not heard of that before. Let's see. Lewy body pathology affects the peripheral autonomic nervous system, nerves such as intestines, heart, and urinary tract. The first signs of autonomic dysfunction are often subtle. Blood pressure problems such as orthostatic hypotension, so dizziness after standing up, so like POTS disease, which I've said before I've never heard of until recently, is very common in this timeline. Also basically dizziness when standing up is inability to balance your orthostatic hypotension, like your inability to balance your blood pressure. Urinary problems, sexual dysfunction, excessive sweating, drooling or salivation. I think all of us have had some of these symptoms at times. Problem swallowing. Degeneration of cardiac nerves. So like most symptoms that almost anybody ever got. Delayed gastric emptying, in other words, constipation, nausea, gastric retention. There's another one that most people have had. Then the reverse, urinary frequency, sexual dysfunction, depression, anxiety. So like basically almost everybody has now got symptoms of this thing. Agitation, delusions, that's like everybody. Paranoia. Oh, you know what? Capgras delusion. Capgras. We've covered this one, so I didn't read down this far, but okay. Capgras delusion is a psychiatric disorder in which a person holds a delusion that friend, spouse, parent, or other close family member has been replaced by an identical imposter. Named after Joseph Capgras, 1873 to 1950, French psychiatrist. Okay, so I guess we're all getting Lewy body dementia according to this. Sleep disorders. Anyway, I don't know what to say about this stuff, but it's basically like all the symptoms of shift sickness are now like have all these COVID, Lewy body dementia, all these things it could be. I have to just laugh. I'm like, whatever, just whatever. So yes, this is now supposedly the third/second most common dementia that I never heard of until 2014. I think I covered everything in there. Oh, and it was supposedly discovered in 1910, in case any of you guys wanted to think it was new. It's not. Okay, another one, Julie's Journey brought up one, and this is a side part of it that I'll start with that she didn't specifically bring up, but I noticed when I was looking at hers. Looking at the Milky Way. This is actually an older map here, but I don't remember there being a scutum crux arm when I was looking into it. I do remember the Norma arm showing up like a few years ago, but I don't remember any crux being part of the arm. But then there's like other versions that don't, the newer versions. The thing is, this is a new version for me, but in this timeline, this is an old version with this crux arm. We've got this Sagittarius arm. And the other thing is the Orion arm is like just tiny now. It's only that long. I remember that Orion arm going all the way down to the middle here, but now it's just this little smidgen. I remember there being an Orion arm that went away, but it doesn't now. Let me look at the newer version if I can find it in here. Not the scutum crux. So apparently this is the old version. I've never heard of this crux thing. All the old ones that I looked at before, I can't really find. There used to be close-ups of just exactly where we were on the Sagittarius and Orion, and I just couldn't find any of those this time. Alright, that's probably because I've got scutum crux, or scutum, or I don't even know how to pronounce that. So anyway, I think we're still like kind of slithering around in the galaxy. It looks like we're still in the middle. Okay, so no, that one still has the scutum. I'm trying to find the other one that didn't have the scutum, which I think is the more recent one in this timeline. It was like the past has changed, but the current one has, you can see that there's not a lot of well-labeled ones right now. I used to be able to find this fairly easily. Alright, this one still has Norma. Of course, now I can't find the one I want. Is it that one? Nope. Just gonna start clicking on things. Nope. I might give up in a minute. No. Maybe this is the new one. I don't know. I can't find the one I saw earlier. All right, this one's got scutum centaurus, which is there's a different, and Orion Cygnus. That's a whole nother one than the one I saw earlier. Okay, here's the one. It seems like it's the more recent one for current timeline. It has Carina Sagittarius. I don't know, where do they get off? They keep changing the names of all the arms. Perseus. Oh, no, that still has scutum crux. I don't know. Now I can't find it. Maybe I give up. You know, I was looking like 2 days ago, and only a third of them had the scutum. So maybe the scutum is the up-and-coming one, and I caught it midway. Because now I can't find any that don't have it. Anyway, something to keep an eye on. That thing's always changing. All right, I'm going to go to the article that she found. So the points I wanted to make, though, is I don't remember that scutum thing, and I don't remember the Orion arm being like really, really short like that, which is our arm. Milky Way. Alright, so this is the article that Julie's Journey found. So keep in mind there's already a Sagittarius arm. So apparently we're also chewing up they're saying that the Milky Way galaxy is chewing up Sagittarius dwarf galaxy. And I know I've covered a little bit of this before, but it seems like it's suddenly a more sophisticated version of that story. I do think it's interesting that we have a Sagittarius arm, and then we also have a Sagittarius dwarf galaxy that we're chewing that has these apparent now arms coming out like this. I wonder if there's going to be a confusion in here and they're going to merge somehow or something. I'm starting to get suspicious whenever there's like two things with the same word, because why would you use the same word for two similar things? It's a little fishy. So supposedly, this is the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy that our galaxy is chewing. I really don't remember there being a impact between our galaxy and any other galaxy before like maybe a year ago. So now this is it. Our galaxy is like this combo galaxy where we ate this other galaxy, and these are the shreds. Astronomers have found two such streams emanating from the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy, torn off by Milky Way's huge gravitational pull. The two newfound star tails are in the southern galactic hemisphere. So they're saying that it's just that the southern tails are the new find, but the northern tails we've known for a long time. Sagittarius is like a beast with four tails. Big bad Milky Way. Why is it that the Milky Way just ponderated this Sag galaxy and stayed in its normal shape instead of both of them getting all warped? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but I mean, don't they both have gravitational fields? Researchers aren't sure what caused the galaxy's star tails to split. One possibility is that Sagittarius was once part of a binary galactic system like the present-day small and large Magellanic Clouds. Sagittarius and its putative partner could each have generated a leading and trailing tail upon falling into the Milky Way, yielding 4 streams in total. I wonder what makes our galaxy not warped at all, and Sag getting totally pulverized. This is like a Mack truck hitting a Tonka toy truck. Seems a little fishy. Anyway, but that's the current storyline. I did want to just point out, though, that we've got two Sagittariuses here. This galaxy we're supposedly now chewing, and the arm that we supposedly have in our galaxy, which just happens to be the arm that many of us remember coming from, I don't know, a little bit of a coincidence. I don't know where that's going, but I find it interesting. Okay. There. Story about JFK I've never heard of before. You would think that any famous thing, like he did this super amazing supposedly thing, would have been talked about more than once. So apparently JFK, in the current storyline, once saved this guy's butt. Ooh, that's a pretty bird. Never saw that bird before. Cool. Anyway, supposedly in 1943, 26-year-old Kennedy and his crew were marooned on a deserted island. And so the story is that Kennedy saved this guy. Okay, so supposedly this guy was injured. They were thrown into the sea, and JFK dragged this guy like miles to this island. They only had coconuts to provide nourishment. It was unlikely they would be rescued. Let's see, what was the rest of the story? I read it last week, but I didn't read it very carefully. Oh, so they wrote like this thing on a coconut and gave it to these Pacific Islanders to carry it to the Allied forces to get saved. And so he kept this coconut on his desk because it like saved him. This is what he etched into this piece of coconut. I've just never even heard of this story that he was marooned on a desert island with like others and saved this guy. Supposedly he like dragged this guy through the ocean that was injured for like miles to the island. Never heard of that. Very suspicious. It's just one of them TV type stories too. I don't know. Everything is like a bad TV plot line here. And here's another one. This is one. I'm not sure if I had this on. I think I've seen these guys doing this, but I don't think I remember them spraying this way. But apparently, I know I've had spotted skunks on. You know, a lot of us just remember one kind of skunk with one white stripe on the back, the famous single stripe skunk. And then they have these crazy whack-doodle spotted skunks showed up. So apparently these crazy whack-doodle spotted skunks spray by doing handstands. Instead of just lifting their tail up and doing it normally, they have to do a handstand because they weren't weird enough looking before that we had to add this to the mix. Don't ask me why something like this wouldn't have been something we'd all learned since we were 5 years old, but here you go. I almost had this one as the thumbnail, but I just wanted to add this in. They're getting weirder. JFK has a purple heart. It might be from that. JFK's dad was a gangster psychopath. Who the heck knows? It's all craziness here. I just think it's just like, I don't know. It's just... Wouldn't they have made a film about that? It was the thing. I know. The Democrats should have been like cooing about that for decades. It came from Sagittarius belt. Sagittarius arm. Huh. Not arm, but belt. Yep, nobody remembers that story. You look at these planets through a super telescope, they look like light particles glimmering in water. I don't know what they are here. Like I said, in the old timeline, stuff looked realistic and it made more sense. Everything here sounds stupid. It doesn't look right. So, I mean, this might be like a whole nother type of reality with whole nother rules. Okay, next, got you. This one also made me laugh. Have you ever heard of the Viking god of skiing? I mean, it kind of makes a weird, vague sense, but the Old Norse, it was skidis. Skidis was how it was pronounced. But it's Scotty, or Scow, or Skeetus. Look, it's just like the new-looking skis. Have you ever seen that? The Viking god of skiing. Scotty. I might be killing the pronunciations, but I don't remember like those modern-looking skis going back that far. You know, those what do you call it, those shoes with the big what do you call those with the netting on them? Not the netting, but I remember those. Now I can't remember the name, but anyway, I don't remember any gods of skiing. Let's just put it that way. There's different versions depending on if it's Viking or Old Norse or whatever. Uller is another one. Oh, that's like the archery. It's not Scotty, but just know there was no Viking god of skiing. And it was not Old Norse ski dis either. So I call baloney on the Viking god of skiing. All right. Purple sky. I've covered this before, but now we have a rationale for the purple sky before the typhoons. Did not have purple skies before typhoons in my old timeline. Okay, so the current story is that, and it's kind of weird, doesn't really make sense, but so supposedly this happened a whole year ago. I don't think this story was this developed a year ago, but so before this typhoon Hagibis, the name, they used to have names like Mary and Joseph, but now it's Hagibis. The sky turned purple in Japan, electric purple sky. So supposedly this is a legit photo. I saw a lot of other photos with similar purple. So the story is like the a big storm washes the big dirt particles out of the air, leaving only the small dirt particles, which don't scatter as much of the purple light, or no, they scatter, or it doesn't block as much of the purple light, and so less purple light is scattered, and so we see more purple. So the story is that the sky is actually purple, but the big fat dirt particles block the purpleness. And so this storm like washes away all them dirt particles. But what I don't get is why then would it be purple before the storm? Shouldn't it be purple after the storm? Because it hasn't started raining yet. So 3 hours before the typhoon, the sky turns purple. It hasn't started raining yet. Now, after the typhoon goes through and giant tons and tons of rain come down, then shouldn't it be like purple then? But then don't typhoons just stir up a bunch of dirt anyways? So if the typhoon stirs up a bunch of dirt, then why would it be less dirt? So none of that story really makes sense. If water washes away the dirt, then it should be purple after the storm. But if storms stir up a bunch of dirt, then it shouldn't be purple. But also, I just have to say, I've never heard of purple before a big fat storm until like this last year or so. Well, here's all these photos of purpleniferousness. As sunlight shines down to Earth, most of the colors of the spectrum are able to reach the surface uninterrupted. But the shorter wavelengths, blue and violet, are scattered in every direction. This light bounces from particle to particle until it eventually reaches your eyes. But the sky doesn't appear violet and blue because of our eyes' limitations. The light was scattered around the moisture in the air, causing the magical purple color. So it's the moisture in the air that's causing it? This is not the exact article I read last time. So this one makes it sound like it's the moisture in the air causing the purple. But you wouldn't need a giant storm to have a lot of moisture in the air. Anytime the humidity is high would have a lot of moisture in the air. So none of this really makes any sense to me. Why it would only be purple before a storm. Like I have yet to read an article that really explains why it would be before a storm. There's explanations, but they're not logical. So I'm kind of waiting to see how that shakes out, but sounds wrong. Okay, next article. Human microevolution. I had a bunch of people send this one into me, but the person who sent it first was my friend PJ. So she gets the credit for it. Sorry, the rest of you guys were a little bit slower. Okay, so the last wisdom teeth is something that I've covered before. In my old timeline, everybody was born with all 4 of their wisdom teeth in there. They would erupt when you were older. Everybody had them. I mean, maybe one freak person in the planet didn't have them, but basically the dentists assumed that everybody had them because everybody freaking had them, okay? But in this timeline, a lot of people are not born with 4 wisdom teeth. I've seen percentages all over the map. Again, this timeline can't decide what percentage of anybody is anything. So I've seen percentages between 10% and 35%, around there, as of people not born with their wisdom teeth, and somewhere in the same range of people born between 1 and 3 wisdom teeth instead of 4, and then maybe 20 to 40% of people born, or maybe up to 60% of people born with all 4. But the point is, though, that a bunch of people are born without all 4 wisdom teeth, which is totally wrong for my timeline, but apparently nothing unusual here. But this article also, apparently there's this other artery in the hand. Stunning finding, blah, blah, blah. Weirdly, okay, scientists believe humans are evolving faster than any point in the past 250 years, with more babies coming out with shorter faces, smaller jaws. Okay, I think that it's actually kind of the reverse from what I'm seeing than what they're saying. I'm seeing narrower faces, but kind of bigger jaws. Maybe overall they're smaller, but the actual jaw muscle and bone are like honking compared to my old timeline. And I can feel it because my jaw is a lot stronger. I used to be really big baby about chewing hard bread because I just had a weak jaw, and I was tired. I like chewing all that. Now I have no problem wailing on hard bread because, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen the jaw muscle expand here. The indent on the side of the head is allowing for a big jaw muscle attachment here. So it's actually the complete opposite of what they're saying, which is pretty common, I'm finding, with these articles, that we see the reverse of what they're saying. Shorter faces, no, I'm seeing faces narrower this way, but not shorter this way. I would definitely say they're thinner through here. Shorter faces, smaller jaws. So I disagree with that. Extra bones in their legs and feet. I've covered those weird bones going back a couple years. One thing that these articles are not explaining about this microevolution is what pressures would really cause this, because with dentistry and stuff, there shouldn't be that much pressure on survival for these things and there hasn't been enough generations to really explain it using Darwin's evolution. They don't make any effort to explain how this would happen. It would have to be some kind of either spiritual or epigenetics thing, but they don't make any effort to explain it. They just call it microevolution. I mean, if it's just very recent generations, you would need like at least 10 or 15 generations of people to even have a hope of showing up any of this stuff. But no, they just people born 80 years from now will have all the median artery if the trend of microevolution continues. All have a median artery. 80 years, that's just like, in the current situation with people 30, 60, that's like 2-3 generations from now. There's no way that Darwin's evolution would explain this rapid a change in just a couple generations. There's no strong survival focus on this at all. Wisdom teeth may be a thing of the past. In 2-3 generations? There's no way. Researchers track the rate of retainment of certain parts of the body and analyze corpses from people born in the 20th century. There's no way that Darwin's evolution could go this fast. So this whole article is just weird. But I think, people read this and go, oh yeah, less people have wisdom teeth. Yeah, right. Well, it's true, but it doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is like an explanation that doesn't explain anything. They called it microevolution. They have made no explanation about how it could come to pass. So, weird. An explanation that doesn't explain anything. Also fits nicely with the current timeline style of doing things. Don't think too hard. We have a word for it. We've labeled it. Therefore, it's explained. Not. Got that one. Got you. I think I've ripped through it. I'm really awake today, so I've been jamming. Got you. Ooh, I've got one left. I think that's it. Yep. Okay, we'll see what you guys are up to, and then we're going to do the last one. I have TMJ. It sucks. I'm sure it does. You also might want to try DMSO because TMJ might be inflammation, inflammation related. Oral DMSO. Definitely worth a try if it's hurting because it's anti-inflammatory and it is also good for pain. Souls come from different planets or different morphology? I don't know. I really don't. Different timelines, different morphology. I've still got all 4 of mine. Probably one of the few because I never had them removed. Because they would almost always remove everybody's. Which is interesting now that I think back on it. Because, most people have had them removed. And then now people are born without them. So almost nobody has all their wisdom teeth. The whole geology of the region looks almost foreign. Well, yeah, that's pretty much the case for me for the whole planet. Evolution can be speeded up and slowed down depending on environment. Example, Galapagos Islands. Yeah, but you're still talking about hundreds of generations, according to Darwin's theory. There's no way 2-3 generations would have that strong an effect unless it had. If the thing had a very strong survival mechanism behind it, anybody who didn't have it died before they could give birth, and none of these things are causing a large percentage of people to die before they could give birth. Having wisdom teeth or not, having this artery or not, is going to have a very weak pressure on survival. There's no way that's going to be rapid alteration within just a couple of generations on something that is not strongly affecting birth rates, according to Darwin's theory. So there's got to be something else, which they don't explain. It's got to be some kind of spiritual or something, but they're not going to say that. I don't have wisdom teeth and grew up never meeting anyone else who didn't have them. So you don't have them, but you were totally strange that way? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, well, apparently now 10 to 40% of people, maybe around 20. I don't know. It's this timeline, you can't tack down anything because there's always this huge range. You'd think they'd know. It's really not that hard to tabulate these things. Dental records, you should be able to just go through one batch of dental records and get an approximate percentage. But I don't know. There's so many timelines stacked on. Everything's so shifty. Nothing is nailed down. I don't know. If they don't nail it down, it's easier to change it later. If an animal falls into a cave and survives for generations down there, they will rapidly evolve. Yeah, but see, that didn't happen with humans. We didn't fall in a cave and rapidly evolve. And it has to be something that affects birth rates. And whether you're not, you have an artery in your hand is not strongly affecting birth rates. Neither is whether you have a wisdom tooth or not. So 3 generations, rapid alteration on something that has very minimal effect on birth rates does not fit with Darwin's theory at all. It has to affect birth rates. Now, if there's a rapid change in environment where suddenly one attribute had a very strong influence on who survived and everybody else died, and then only the people with that one attribute survived, then yes, there can be a rapid evolution. But that's not the case for wisdom teeth. It's not the case for this artery. It's not the case for how wide your face is. None of those. So it would not fit with Darwin's theory at all. Unless there's something else, which I think we all know there is. And I just think it's funny to see this article, and it's completely unscientific, basically. But everybody's going to go, and think it's scientific. It doesn't explain anything. Can I get agility teeth instead of wisdom teeth? Yeah, really. I don't know. I think in the current era, it's better to be wise than agile because, you know, we really don't have to run away from saber-toothed tigers that often to survive. I'm 100% mutt, just like everyone else. Purebred mutt. Yeah. I don't know what I am anymore. I mean, like, history has changed so much. I used to have bug out, like, total Caucasian eyes. But all Caucasians had these buggy eyes, but mine were actually extra buggy. I mean, not super ridiculous, but they were the kind of eyes that stick out, which, like, white people all had. We all had sticky outy eyeballs, and it was something I kind of didn't love. I kind of wish they weren't that buggy, but now they're all sunk back in. I'm almost like, I almost look like partially Asian or something. My eyes, white people didn't have these eyes before. In this timeline, white people can have these Asian-y looking eyes, and then you've got Asians, like some of the Japanese, look Caucasian. If you look at, like, the Aboriginal Japanese, Ryukyu. Let's see, Ryukyu. Spelling. Ryu. Getting late, brain not working. Let me see if I can find some of the older original Japanese look Caucasian. Ryukyu culture, Okinawa. Okay. Only slightly Asian looking. Eyes a little bit. Look at this guy. Nope. Not very. I'm trying to find ones without, like, tons of makeup. Looks a little more Polynesian than Japanese. Where's that other island? There's another island where they, not super Japanese looking. The, original Japanese now didn't look Japanese, basically. Maybe just a tiny bit, but I mean, if it wasn't for the hair, if I had black hair, then with my eyes, I could be Okinawan. Here, where I just saw it. Okay, so They're saying that this was more like the original Okinawans, which doesn't look very Japanese. And then they're saying that this type, facial type, came down from like Korea, and that the Japanese are actually a mix of the original, more like native populations mixed with the Koreans. The yayoi look here versus the original. So I'm just laughing because I'm like, no. So the Japanese look Caucasian, basically. The original Jomon. That's the word I was looking for. Jomon are supposed to be the original Japanese. As you're looking at them, and the Jomon look, I mean, thick eyebrows doesn't really, I mean, if you saw this person, you're not going to think, oh, that's Japanese. The eyes a little bit, but a lot of them not even the eyes so much. See, very, you know, they got that Japanese hairstyle there, but if you blot out this hair, that dude barely, just a little in the eyes, that's it. That guy doesn't look Japanese. Nope. Nope. So these are supposed to be the original Japanese. I mean, a little more like a Viking or something. Yeah, that's changed a lot for me. It's like a total white boy. Cause see, my eyes are starting to look like that now, and it's kind of trips me out. I mean, my eyes are so sunk in now. I don't recognize myself. I actually never looked at myself in the mirror so much as I do now, because I just like, who is that person? And I'm constantly changing. These Japanese people don't look Japanese. So yeah, I don't know, tripping me out. So, I mean, I'm sure some of these people had plastic surgery, but if you look at the old photos, there's a lot of people who look like this that didn't have any plastic surgery. Like this guy, you know, probably didn't have any. It's just, the Asian look is more Caucasian. Then there's got some of the European Caucasians are getting like Asian-y looking, especially with the eyes. So, interesting mix there. The women are starting to look more like men. The men are starting to look more like women. Things are just mixing. Look at these guys. Those guys don't look Japanese. That guy kind of, but that guy? No. Funny when I'm tripped out. Yep. I don't know. I think that's why I started this show, because I just had to like rant sometimes. Tartarians. Oh, don't get me started on Tartaria. That thing is so in flux, Tartaria. I find it really interesting though. Tartaria is kind of what I do to relax, because I don't have a pony in the race. I think it's constantly changing, so I'm like, it's like a story, and I'm waiting to see what the ending's going to be, because there's like, what's going to be the new Tartaria storyline? What's going to be the new plot point that shows up for Tartaria? I don't know how it's going to end. With humans, we are eating more fatty stuff, and heart attacks are too common, so our bodies know to rapidly evolve the child to cope with this. Extravate. Well, yeah, but that's totally not Darwin's theory at all. That's totally and 100% contrary to Darwin's theory. It's a spiritual kind of thing. It's not any kind of a theory that is accepted in science. Even epigenetics doesn't go that far yet. It may eventually. So while I'm not disputing that could be the case, it's totally contrary to current science storyline, is my point. And so you have an article there that claims to be a scientific article that totally does not make any scientific sense according to the current scientific theory. Okay, so one more thing. Stay there. I don't know about this one. I just thought it was really interesting, so I'm going to include it. I don't know if it counts as a... I've covered Great Wall of China being a big fat Mandela. First of all of China's shape is different. It looks like a big chicken. I noticed Russia's looking like a horse. Great Wall of China used to be one freaking wall. Now it's like this big slew of stuff. Walls, old walls, new walls, here, there. It's even different than last time I looked. If you kind of have a recollection of the basic lines that I showed last time I was complaining about the Great Wall of China looking different. I'll maybe get map on there. Now the pile of lines is even more helter-skelter. Let's see, where's that one I saw last I checked? Doing. Okay, so all these lines are Great Wallses of China at different times. I don't remember all these ones here. There's some kind of ridiculous amounts. So the Great Wall that we see the most now is the Ming Dynasty Wall. These are the previous dynasty walls. So the story is that China built these to keep, what was it? That keep the Mongolians out. That's the story that we've always been fed, and who knows if it's true and what timeline. And indeed, the old timeline. See, look at all these lines. There's more freaking walls every time I look. Look, now there's all these little tiggly ones over here. I mean, like, China the chicken. Look at Russia. Russia looks like a horse now. China's looking even more like a chicken than last I checked. Japan's turning into like a seahorse. I wonder if all the countries are going to look like some kind of critter. I wonder what America will look like. I actually just thought of that right now. What is it? Does America look like anything yet? No, I don't think so. Maybe we'll need another 5 or 10 shifts before I can figure out what we look like. Maybe we'll turn into like a pig or something. Russia. Let me see if I can find a Russia map. All right, there's Russia. Nope. See, Russia's starting to look like a horse. There's the feet, another feet. It's got a big stomach. Okay, the head's a little mangy. I kind of wonder if this nose thing's going to break off and then we'll have a better... There's a little tail. Anyway, it's looking a little horsey for me. Or some kind of ruminant creature. I wonder what... And then there's Japan map. Boink. Seahorse. The body. Funky little head. Little feet and stuff. Canada is really twisted. I wonder if that'll turn into anything. Maybe they all will. I don't know. Maybe some kind of animal with a big funny tail up here. Anyway, Canada is a work in progress. We'll just have to wait. Okay, so I'm losing my concentration here. So the point was... So I ran into this on like the Tartaria website. I just thought it was interesting. I really don't know if something's gonna come to pass. But their argument was that we were told that the Great Walls, the Wallses, were designed to keep out the invading hordes of Mongols from China. There's a whole storyline now of how it didn't work because the Chinese actually had a civil war, and one side let in the Mongols through the wall. So the wall was successful until like it was internal betrayal. I just can't imagine that if you have a civil war, you would rather have invading Mongol hordes versus your own people. But that's the storyline. Okay. That also I don't remember in my old timeline at all. But so this thing that I saw in Tartaria is their argument is that the gun slits or the slits for like archers are on the wrong side for they should be on the side pointing to the Mongols, but they're on the other side, like they're actually trying to keep the Chinese out. So the argument was that that it was actually that the Chinese might have been the Tartarian Empire, and the Tartarians were invading north towards Russia, and that the wall was actually to keep them darn Tartarian Chineses out of there. So they're saying that the gun slits are on the wrong side. Okay, so look, the gun slits are pointing towards China. They should be pointing towards the invading hordes, right? So there's all these walls where they're like, hey, wait, the gun slits are on the wrong side. Again, here's another one. China on this side, Russia on that side. But they're being rebuilt. They're being rebuilt, and they're switching so that the gun slits are on both sides, which still makes no sense. Why would you have them on the Chinese side? Or that they would be just on the China. And this is supposed to be a photo of them rebuilding them. So, I mean, the trouble is I just don't know how to check to see if I really have the directions right on here. Is this really Russia over here? You know, I don't know. You could just say that and I wouldn't really know. But it was an interesting concept. Of course, they're claiming they're just rebuilding the wall to fix it. Here you've got gun slits on both sides. That really doesn't make sense to me either. Once they're on your side, you're screwed. So this is basically they're just saying that this is fishy, that the gun slits are on the wrong side. I don't know. I don't know. With the whole Tartaria thing brewing, so the way the Tartaria thing's been brewing is that there's a lot of evidence that like basically China was the Tartarians. The way it's been brewing is that basically Tartaria was defeated, and the current power countries were the locations that defeated Tartaria, like the United States, Britain. Those countries were the ones that defeated, those regions were the ones that defeated Tartaria and took over. So interestingly, it fits kind of in with the COVID thing, because now you've got kind of China possibly instituting the revenge by undermining all the other countries with this COVID thing while they're sitting pretty. So now all the countries that supposedly beat Tartaria are the ones undergoing this COVID thing. I really don't know. I mean, that could just be a giant stretch. So, one of 150 other possible conspiracy theories that'll come to pass. But I've just kind of been watching it, see what happens. Beats me. I don't know. I thought I'd throw it out there, though, for your perusal. Double archery. I don't know what that means. USA may be a dragon. You thinks? Let's see. I hope it's not some kind of like pig or something. Yeah, maybe if we, it's a tiny little head over there. I don't know. You have to admit it. If we turned into a pig, it would just fit. And it kind of just seems like, all the other ones kind of fit, and at least a little bit. I don't think we really know yet. If it was a dragon, I'd be happy, but Australia looks like a shark. Ooh, let's see, Australia. Nope, not seeing it yet. Boy, that point is just getting more pointy, and this chewed out spot is just getting more and more chewed out, and the bend area is getting more bendy. It's really nothing like the old shape. Tasmania is just getting bigger and bigger. Victoria, oh, it's fancy now. That's interesting. I remember Victoria being a lot bigger. Considering what they're going through over there, probably a good thing they're not. I've heard that Queensland is getting slammed with people trying to escape Victoria because you're not allowed to leave Victoria unless you have residency already established in another location. I don't know if Queensland just has the least C rules right now, but I've heard that Queensland's getting wailed on with people trying to relocate by renting sight unseen in Queensland through the internet so they can get the hell out of the lockdown, the prison state that is now Victoria, so that they don't have an 8 p.m. curfew and they can leave their house more than an hour a freaking week. And can you imagine not being able to leave? In order to get out, you have to have some kind of excuse, and the only really good excuse that is easy to obtain is residency outside. So they're trying to rent in Queensland. Then they've got to do a 2-week quarantine on their own dime in a hotel, and then they can move into their house. They can't even just go straight to their own house and quarantine there. Oh no, it has to be a freaking hotel because it's not expensive enough if you're at your own freaking house. You couldn't cheat when you're in the hotel. It's just stupid. It's just trying to make it hard to get out. I mean, why would they do that? Just let people quarantine at their freaking house then. Especially if they lived alone. Anyways, it's stupid. And it's not stupid if you're trying to make people miserable and lock them into Victoria, which is probably the situation. But anyways, so it's like a police state. It's like freaking Russia or some Nazi state in Victoria now, and everybody's trying to get out. It's horrible. I can't believe that's happening in Australia. And almost no Americans have any idea. They're not covering it in mainstream news at all. They'll just show a few police brutality things in Victoria. That's all they're showing here on the news. And since the U.S. is so used to police brutality, we're like, yeah, whatever. A couple isolated police brutalities, big whoop. People don't realize what's going on in Victoria. It's just not cool. Look at how small Mongolia is now, even though Genghis Khan ruled most of the world at one point. I think the Tartarian Empire was covered up as Mongolia, then Russia. Yeah, I think Tartaria was, last time checked, it's ever evolving, but it sounds like Tartaria was supposed to be like China and some of Russia, but also that they had some fingers into the United States also, but it was sort of not their main territory. They took it over for a while though. It seems like that's where we're at right now, looking at the old maps and stuff. I think it's ever evolving. The Tartaria thing is fast moving storyline, so I do kind of enjoy just seeing what the latest thing is with Tartaria. Because for me, it just showed up like a couple years ago, and it was just mud floods at first, and now it's this whole civilization. Damn, it hurts to see the world map. I know. I really wish I could just see my old world map. It's kind of like that lion that I showed, you know, when you see the lion recolored, like Nobleness D recolored it, and then it just seems so nice to see the old lion face. I just can't imagine how good it would feel to see the old map, you know, just to have it. It's so complicated to redraw. I wish there was some like autistic memory specialist out there who could redraw it like it was. But you know, everybody comes from a different timeline, so maybe my map would be your map. But I'm sure we can come up with one closer than what we got now. North America looks like a kangaroo. All of North America, or just the states? Yeah, I guess maybe we could have a combo. You know, I just don't have as good an imagination as some of you guys, I don't think. Because I'm not seeing it. Not yet. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they won't all change into animals, but I don't think any of the places look like animals before, and now like 3 of them do. And they were the ones that got the most Mandela, so I'm very curious. Jeez, look at the size of Alaska. That's ridiculous. Wonder if Great Britain looks like any animals. Okay, map. Kind of looks like something sitting on its haunches over here. England does. I could see that turning into some kind of haunch-sitting animal, but I'm not sure yet what. If with Scotland as the head, maybe. There's the tail. Keep an eye on that one. Anyways, if you guys see any real obvious ones. Alright, anyway, I think I'm about done. Unless you guys got any more to add. All North America looks like a what? Yeah, the whole world looks like a what? I'm trying to use the animals a little bit because then I'll notice more changes. It'll be easier to notice changes. Although I suspect they might be changing into that. So it just seems like China's looking more like a chicken. And Russia's looking more like a horse. And Japan's looking more like a seahorse as I watch it. Art Generica, I'm ignoring that statement. All right, no more porn statements, people. You're gonna make me lose my my monetization and my slot in the search engines. Not that it probably matters, anyways. Yeah, Australia is like it's like it's been like bent over, and then it's got like pokey things on the top. Yeah, everything is totally different, though. I mean, California is different. United States, I mean, it didn't have that big, like, it looks like a big drumstick to me. I have, it just, there's no way that there was a giant freaking drumstick sticking out. We're going to have, like, it's going to be like a giant chicken leg or something. this thing, it looks like a big foot or something that wasn't there. This was like way longer. It was flat across the top here. I don't know, what is this business? Canada is stealing our territory. Get out of here, Canada. Um, it was straight across. I mean, no, that's just so wrong. This part freaks me out the most. I mean, like, the states have all shifted around in here, and the shapes are all different on the states, but the outline is like so different right here. And it's all bent in here. And like, look at Texas. Texas is actually almost sticking down as much as Florida now. And it never stuck down. Florida was sticking down way more, and Texas way less. Texas is kind of like, it's just like sinking down or something, and Florida is slurping up. You can see there's a giant lake thing in Florida that was never that big before. Also, Texas was over here more. It's sliding east this way a little bit. It used to be over closer to Cali. It was over more on like this, like 1/3 of the way over the country. Now it's almost in the middle. So it's like there's a whole washing machine of changes. Like everything is spinning around in here like a vortex. This is getting kicked off. Stuff that was over here got kicked up here. California got smaller. This stuff got pushed in. I don't know. It's just, I could go on forever about this stuff. Anyways, it's like 2:30 in the morning, so USA is a box jellyfish. I don't see it yet. I don't have that good an imagination. It has to be really obvious for me. I don't know. We'll see. It can be that reality is mostly allegoric. China means something. Tartaria means something. Yeah, and then it may be different in every timeline. So I'm kind of sitting here waiting to see how it's going to spin out. I actually went to this Tartaria, suspected of being Tartaria buildings in San Diego recently. Took some photos. So I did see some interesting things there. I wasn't sure if I was going to see anything that looked suspicious. But I did see a few things where it just looks like things were removed, like some of the facade is missing. So they could be, maybe, indication. I mean, there's other possible explanations, so I'm really still sitting on the fence on that. Sweden was much smaller and located where northern Poland is now, and Norway was a much smaller island. Norway was an island for you with a small narrow country on the side of it. Okay, so for me, Europe map. Oh, Europe map. That's not what I want to write. This one looks pretty decent. See if it's big. Okay, so for me, oh God, that looks like a mess. All right, so for me, it was still Norway, Sweden, Finland. Come back here in that order. But they were sitting here, and they peeled around there. They were a lot smaller. They were really dinky, actually. I mean, I can't believe the size of them now. It's ridiculous. So they were dinky, and they sat here. They were attached here next to Denmark, and they curved around, and then kind of almost touched on the knob of Denmark. And so they were getting bigger, and I was commenting, oh my God, they're huge, they're big. And suddenly, boink, they were over here. And I didn't notice quite right away, but somebody came on and said, Poland has got a coastline. And I'm like, no, that's not right. And Germany has a coastline. I know that those things, God, they're big now. Boy, it's been a little while since I looked at Germany and Poland are huge. They were in the middle, and that was all on the top. Okay, so this suddenly went boink over here. So now we have, they still kind of touch over here by Denmark, but now they're attached way over here. This knob thing of Russianness has been growing. This in here has been growing. These lakes are like hooking up to each other. This has been the knob that's been growing. The other thing is that Sweden was over here touching Russia also. So it looks like Finland has kind of slurped up a bunch of Sweden territory, and Sweden's gone. When they first moved, this Sweden was over like there. They were still all lined up like sandwich meats before. And now this water has come in here, so they're not like they were like three sandwich meats all next to each other, and that's changing now. This knob has gotten really big. Everything is like, I suspect that long term this is all going to hook up in here, because everything is turning. And in the Bible it says, I don't know if it's always said this, but right now it says that there'll be one big long river, and like not the oceans anymore, and it really is doing that. A big freshwater river everywhere. And it's doing that. Look at, see, this is, I think this is going to hook up here. There'll just be like this giant river that goes everywhere. This is making inroads. The Black Sea is hooking up over here with the Mediterranean. I think that's going to be like a big fat lake river thing. If you look at North America, that's doing it too. Where the river is hooking up through over here. Let me show one that has the river. So you have the Great Lakes, and then all of this hooking up like here. I think it's slow, but it's coming. That these lakes are growing in a line here. And then this area here, this was not like this before. This was just like a tiny little river mouth is opened up. But you can see this is growing like this. I think these are going to hook up slowly, and there's going to be like a giant river in here eventually. That's the patterns I see like all over the world. Slowly. I'm not sure what the Hudson's going to do, if that's going to hook up in here too or what, but the Hudson used to have a fairly direct path out to the ocean, and now we've got this serpentine route here too. So yeah, all these inland water protected waterways. That's the routes. All right, anyways, I think we're about ready to be done here. The German coast. Yeah, didn't know about the German coast and the Polish coast. See. That's an older Mandela, maybe like a year ago, maybe only 2. There's a whole bunch of people who swear there's always been a German coast. I'm like, no. And, I'm half Polish, and there was no Polish freaking coast. Just, I don't speak any Polish, and I don't know hardly anything about Poland, but I was always a little interested in it because I'm half Polish, genetically. Sweden is more leaning to the north. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they used to be like sandwich meats. I always thought of them as sandwich meats, but now they're one is getting split off. Scandinavia, yeah, I do remember a country named Scandinavia. There's been a few countries that have disappeared. And then you've got like Kazakhstan. I don't think I had Kazakhstan 20 years ago, and it's massive now. It just grows and grows. Poland didn't have a coast. Yep. Germans went to the beach in the Netherlands because they didn't have... Yeah, I know. Yep. Well, I'm glad somebody remembers. Yeah, so when somebody said, look, I don't remember Germany having a coast... And it's weird because it's like my brain gets a fuzz on it for these Mandelas. You have to fight to remember the old way. And so somebody wrote in there, well, if Poland and and Germany have a coast. What was there before? I'm like, why didn't I even ask that question? Why did I have to read that question? So when somebody wrote that, I'm like, what was there? What was there? And I'm like I was beating my head all day, and I'm like, crap, why can't I remember what was there? And I finally was so happy because later in the day I remembered that it was, Sweden, Norway, and Finland that were there. And then I went back on that thread. I'm like, I remember what was there. It was Sweden, Norway, and Finland. And only one person is like, oh, yeah, you're right. It was Sweden, Norway, and Finland. Ooh, somebody give me $2. Baby bird poop pods? Is that a Mandela or just a random statement? You can't tell anymore. Baby bird poop pods. Okay, let's just... You can't tell what is total nonsense and what's a Mandela. Most baby songbirds give off their waste called a fecal sac. These little pouches of poop are mostly white and are encased in a mucous membrane. After being fed, the baby bird will turn its back to the parent and hand it this sac. No freaking way! No, it's not gonna. Baby bird fecal sacs. Yeah, no, that's okay. You get it. You get a Mandela for that one. Where's my pen? That was not there. Come on, pen. The pen doesn't work. This pen is dead. Let's try a different pen. Don't tell me this pen is dead too. There we go. There. Now I'll remember to put it. Yeah, no, that was not a thing. Well, hand its parent. Wouldn't that be nice if your baby would take care of its own diapers? Here, Dad, I'm done with this. Could you throw it away for me? The nests were always gross because there was baby bird poops everywhere. I remember seeing the nests. They were gross. Nestlings usually produce one sac after each feeding. Parents remove the little bundles in their beaks, flying them away for disposal in a separate location. Why don't you just fling them over the side? What is it? The predators are going to see all the poops and know there's birds above? That's hilarious. No, they were always disgusting, those nests. That's hilarious. Good find. Yep, good find. Pugsley Lovejoy gets the thumbs up for the baby bird poop pods. You can't make this stuff up. Although that's probably a less disgusting Mandela than some of the ones I've seen. Yep, Scandinavia. I think I've talked about Scandinavia before being gone. Vertical. You remember vertical? I remember it is a little bit horizontal and kind of a little bit rod shaped. Scandinavia, kind of over a little towards Russia, in the middle. The mother bird swallows up. I don't know, it was saying in that article I just read that she flies them away and disposes them. It might be different between species. Scandinavia now is just like a region, but it's not a country. So they're saying like certain countries are like the Scandinavian region. It's like saying North America. There's no country called North America. There's there's the United States and there's Canada, which are like in the North American region. So that's what Scandinavia now is. It's not. It's just a region. It's sort of like Holland used to be a country, but now it's just a region inside the Netherlands, and the Netherlands is the country. What is the name of the supplement you mentioned you were taking? It's called DMSO, which stands for dimethyl sulfoxide. I will look it up for you so you can see it. Dimethyl sulfoxide. So it's got a ton of sulfur in it. Think MSM. It's like MSM on steroids, basically. It's very weird stuff. It's been studied quite a bit in old timeline and current timeline in the 60s and 70s, then kind of squashed by big pharma. It's naturally occurring, so it can't be patented. You have to keep it clean because it actually is one of the few things that will go right into your body, even from your skin, and spread all through your body like that. It's like within 5 minutes, it's all through. It spreads like sulfur everywhere, and it's like kind of like systemic MSM or something, but it has some other really neat stuff, and it's super, super, super good for inflammation. It also helps some with pain, especially if the pain-producing area is really close to where you apply it. I'm not really taking it for pain. I take it for inflammation, so I just take it oral. It tastes nasty. I mean, it's not the worst taste in the world, but it's bitter. So hide it in a little orange juice. It's a lot better. I mean, it's not great, but hiding in a little orange juice makes it, fairly not too horrible. Definitely read up on it. You can get it from I get mine from eBay. I get it from what's her name? Caitlin's Treasure Box on eBay. She has the pharmaceutical grade, which is the high quality stuff. It's not super expensive. Like you can get like that much for $10. It's not the cheapest, but it's not super expensive. But you can get, you could get for $10 or $20, you can definitely get enough to try it out and see if it's worth your time. Organosulfur compound. It comes out of pine trees, and everything has it, but they get it out of pine trees because when they're making paper, they have to get the plant bark basically to be less, to be more, to be more flippy floppy, paper like. It can't be so brittle, or not brittle, but it can't be so stiff. So they have to remove it out. So that's where they get it from, because they have to remove it to make paper. And then if they further process it, then that would be pharmaceutical grade. They actually use it a lot for horses. It's very commonly used for horses. Horses have a lot of inflammation and tendon problems. So very, very popular for that. I find that the pharmaceutical grade is not too stinky, which is nice. If you get just get the pharmaceutical grade for sure. It's not that much more expensive. This is somebody else selling it, but I don't know what hail tropfit is. That's interesting. They do mix, they mix DMSO with other things sometimes, because DMSO will carry other stuff into your body. It won't carry big stuff like germs, but it will carry things like small molecules like cortisone and stuff. So that's why you have to keep it pure unless you're doing it on purpose and you know what you're mixing it with. The only other thing you gotta be really careful with is it can make other stuff stronger, like cortisone. So if you're on like hormone treatments, it will make them stronger. So you'd have to be really, really judicious and cautious about just taking a small amount, because you might have to adjust your other medicines if it's like a hormone treatment. The other thing is it has been shown to protect cells. So if you're on chemo treatment, it actually can be bad because it can slow down the death of your cells, which you don't necessarily want when you're on chemo. After chemo, yes, fine, but not during. So don't take it if you're on chemo. Trying to think if there's anything else. Can't really think of anything. But do your own research. You know, I'm not a doctor. Blah, blah, blah. All I know is I feel a ton better this last month since I've been on it. I take about 9 milliliters twice a day. So 18 milliliters, which is the same as milligrams. I believe it's the same as milligrams. It's like a shot glass worth twice a day. I think I was looking at the recommended amount was anywhere between like 10 milliliters per day to 90 for my weight. So I still have a lot of space to increase. I probably won't. I seem to be pretty good on this dose. They use it for some. It is approved for use for a few things. Some kind of bladder problems, a couple other things in America. Antioxidants, scavenger, free radicals. You know, there's some places on here that act like it's some kind of miracle drug. It is very interesting and very good at certain things. Some of the claims do go overboard. It's really hard to tell exactly what's going on with Big Pharma trying to squash everything, so. They use DMSO to preserve, for cryopreserve organs, believe it or not. They soak, like if they remove an organ from somebody, they will float it in DMSO plus a couple other things to transport it, to keep it preserved until it's time to put it into the new host. So it's interesting that way too. It's kind of like a protectant. Seems to have some good use for like preservation of cells during frostbite also. Anyways, yeah, I'm recommending it now. $80 a kilo. Yes, I would say so. I'll show you where I get it from. Let me see if I can remember her. Unless, if that is pharmaceutical grade, yes, it's cheap. Pretty sure that's it. eBay. Caitlin's Treasure House. Let me see if that's right. Treasure box. That's it. Caitlin's Treasure Box. I think that's better. No? Alright, I'm not doing too good here. Let's try this way. Oh, there, I spelled it wrong. Caitlin's Treasure Box on eBay. Yep. She's got all different kinds. I take it oral. I actually was taking it for years, just occasionally for certain issues like tendon problems. Also, my dog had this weird, very strange problem. Like, we figured out it was inflammation related because prednisone treated it, and it was some kind of face pain and nerve tics where it was causing her to do like sort of like little mini seizures. We figured out that prednisone would treat it, but you know, prednisone is horrible on the system long term, and I eventually figured out that I could stop the prednisone and just do DMSO only. And DMSO has, you know, it's been studied quite a bit, and they haven't found any serious side effects, unlike prednisone. So she was on on DMSO for years. I got her off the pred, and she was just on DMSO, and she would get DMSO twice every 24 hours, every 12 hours. Another thing I should warn you is, do not slam DMSO straight into your mouth. Mix it with either water or juice or something, because it builds up a little heat when it first touches water, and it can get a little hot. So if you put it in with like half juice, then it's fine. It's just slightly warm, no problems. But it's enough. It's a little too strong on the mucous membranes to go pure. I do put it pure on my skin. Some people find it's a little too strong and they got to go 50-50. My body loves that stuff though, so I can tolerate a very high percentage, I find, with no side effects. But not everybody can. Take it easy, do a little research. I always recommend this with every medication. I even feel like Big Pharma is not that careful. Start out slow when you start a new medication. See how your body adapts to it. Don't go crazy right away. I did that with DMSO as I do with everything. So long time ago, I just got this big gallon one for $180 from here, and this is pharmaceutical grade. So if you have, let me think, is that, actually, I'm really not sure. 1 gallon, how many pounds would that be? Anyway, this is what I paid for it. I found that this was the going rate. I would suggest you just get, like a little bit and just see how it is for you before you cough up. See if it works. See if your body likes it. It's a lot of people liken it to kind of like, it spreads sulfur just like MSM does, but it spreads it through the whole system, plus a couple other really beneficial like nutrients that it spreads, and it's just really strong anti-inflam. If you've got what do you call that, arthritis, a lot of people find that putting it on the outside skin right there. If you've got a pain area, then put it in right there. I just find I need to get a lot in me quickly, and if I wait for it to soak in on the skin, I'll be dying of old age before it gets in. I mean, it soaks in, but I'm not going to sit around for an hour waiting and waiting and waiting. But if you have arthritis, then rub it on the outside of the skin, and then if you do skin, then put oil over it, like coconut oil or email oil. Pure, unadulterated, non-chemical oil is what you want. Anyway, do your research. I always say that. Let's play pickleball. Yep. Methyl sulfol. No, it's dimethyl sulfoxide. Dimethyl sulfoxide. I don't know what that other word one you used is. $80 a kilo. Yeah, maybe that is kind of expensive actually, because a kilo is only 2.2 pounds. And I think a gallon's a lot more than 2.2 pounds. Okay, anyway, time for me to check on out of here. So, thank you all for coming. All the usual muchas gracias. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.